Put everything back in her cart. The cashier froze. Sophia Bennett slowly turned toward the deep voice behind her. A tall man stood several feet away, in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than everything she owned. Broad shoulders, dark hair, a face carved into calm, dangerous lines. Two men in suits waited behind him. Sophia had no idea who he was, no idea that people in Chicago lowered their voices when they said his name. Dante Moretti, the most feared Mafia boss in the city, and right now, his attention was fixed on the container of baby formula sitting on the return counter. "I'm sorry?" Sophia asked. Dante's gaze moved from the formula to the diapers beside it, then to the small bag of groceries she had reluctantly added to the pile. "Nothing gets returned," he said. Sophia tightened her hold around the crying baby pressed against her chest. "I didn't ask you to buy anything." Dante looked at her then, really looked at her, at the beautiful plus-size woman wearing a worn, faded blue t-shirt with small tears near the shoulder and hem, paired with inexpensive black pants, at the exhaustion beneath her eyes, at the way her dark hair had been hastily pulled into a messy bun, at the way she kept gently bouncing the baby, even though her own hands were trembling. The cashier cleared her throat nervously. "Sir, she was only trying to—" "I heard." Dante had heard everything. He had heard Sophia ask how much she would receive for the unopened formula. He had heard the cashier tell her it wouldn't be enough. Then he had watched Sophia place the diapers on the counter, the wipes, a loaf of bread, 2 cans of soup, and finally, the cheap microwave meal she had apparently bought for herself, one item after another, until almost nothing remained in her cart. But Dante still hadn't moved, not until the baby began crying harder. Sophia had lowered her face toward the little girl and whispered something she clearly hadn't intended anyone else to hear. "Just give me one more night, sweetheart. Auntie Sophia will figure it out." "Auntie!" That single word had caught Dante's attention. Now Sophia stared at the stranger standing before her. "I appreciate what you're trying to do," she said quietly, "but I don't take money from people I don't know." Something almost resembling amusement touched Dante's expression. Most people would have taken one look at him and accepted whatever he offered. This woman looked ready to argue. "I'm not giving you money." "Then what are you doing?" Dante glanced at the cashier. "Ring everything up." Sophia's eyes widened. "No." The cashier hesitated. Dante looked back at Sophia. "No? I said I don't want your charity." The two men behind Dante exchanged a glance. Very few people told Dante Moretti no. Almost nobody did it twice. But instead of anger, Dante studied her with growing interest. Sophia shifted the baby higher against her chest. "I can handle this." Dante's eyes dropped briefly to the nearly empty shopping cart, then back to her face. "You're returning food you need. That's my business." "To buy something else?" Sophia said nothing. Dante noticed the pharmacy bag sticking halfway out of her purse. Then he understood. Medicine. She wasn't returning the baby formula because the child didn't need it. She was choosing between feeding the baby and buying medicine. Dante's jaw tightened. Before he could speak, Sophia's phone rang. She looked at the screen. Whatever name appeared there drained the little color left in her face. She answered. "Hello." Silence. Then her shoulders stiffened. "I told you. I'm trying." Another pause. "I can give you part of it tomorrow." Dante watched her expression crumble. "No, please. You can't do that. I have a baby with me." The voice on the other end grew loud enough that even Dante could hear fragments. "Eviction. Tonight. Money." Sophia turned away, humiliated. "I just need 2 more days." The call ended. For several seconds, she simply stood there. Then she closed her eyes. The baby started crying again. Sophia kissed the child's forehead. "It's okay," she whispered, although she clearly didn't believe it. That was when Dante Moretti made a decision. A decision that would stun everyone standing around that supermarket counter. He reached inside his jacket and pulled out his phone. One of his men immediately stepped closer. "Boss?" Dante never took his eyes off Sophia. Find out who owns her building. Sophia's head snapped up. What? Dante's expression remained perfectly calm. His man was already typing. Sophia stepped toward him. Who are you? Dante looked down at the crying baby in her arms, then back at Sophia. You'll know soon enough. What neither of them knew was that within hours, Dante would discover Sophia Bennett's financial problems were not an accident. Someone had been watching her. Someone wanted the baby. And when Dante discovered exactly whose child Sophia was protecting, buying a few groceries would become the smallest thing he did for her. 20 minutes earlier, Sophia Bennett had entered the supermarket with one goal: make $43 stretch until Friday. She had stood just inside the automatic doors for several seconds, one arm supporting the baby against her chest, while the other held her phone. Her banking app showed the same number it had shown outside, $11.37. Sophia stared at it, then refreshed the screen. Once, twice, nothing changed. She swallowed hard and locked the phone. Okay, she whispered. We can work with $11. The baby made a small sound against her chest. Sophia looked down. 3-month-old Lily stared back at her with wide brown eyes. Sophia forced a smile. Don't look at me like that. Your aunt is a financial genius. Lily blinked. Sophia almost laughed. Almost. 3 months ago, she would have found the situation impossible to imagine. Sophia had never been wealthy, but she had been comfortable. She worked as an administrative coordinator for a small architectural company in downtown Chicago. She had a modest apartment, a little savings, health insurance. She paid her bills on time. She bought groceries without checking her bank balance first. Then her younger sister, Natalie, disappeared. No warning. No goodbye. Just a frantic phone call one rainy evening asking Sophia to keep Lily overnight. Natalie never came back. By morning, her phone was disconnected. By the end of the week, Sophia had filed a missing person report. By the end of the month, Sophia had stopped sleeping properly. And by the 3rd month, every dollar she'd saved was gone. Daycare alone had nearly destroyed her. Then Lily became sick. Then Sophia missed work. Then she lost her job. One disaster had followed another, until the woman who once kept spreadsheets for every expense was standing beneath fluorescent supermarket lights, calculating whether she could afford bread. Sophia pushed the cart slowly toward the baby aisle. Her faded blue t-shirt hung loosely around her soft, full figure, small tears visible near one shoulder and along the hem. It had once belonged to Natalie. That was why Sophia hadn't thrown it away. Her black pants were old but clean, and her dark curls had been twisted into a messy bun before she left the apartment. She knew how she looked. Exhausted, broke, one inconvenience away from falling apart. But Lily didn't care. Lily only knew that whenever she cried, Auntie Sophia came. And as long as Sophia could manage it, that would be enough. She stopped in front of the formula. Her stomach tightened. The brand Lily tolerated best sat on the middle shelf. Sophia reached for it, then looked at the price. She closed her eyes. Of course, she already had one unopened container at home. She'd bought it 2 days earlier, before the pharmacy called. The medicine Lily needed wasn't fully covered. $36. Sophia had spent that morning trying everything. A payment extension, a credit card she'd already maxed out, calling an old co-worker who owed her money. Nothing, which left one option. Return the unopened formula she'd purchased earlier. Use the refund for Lily's medicine. Then figure out tomorrow. Tomorrow. Sophia hated that word now. Tomorrow had become the place where she stored every problem she couldn't solve today. She turned the cart toward customer service. She didn't notice the black SUV pulling into the parking lot outside, and she certainly didn't notice the 2 other vehicles that stopped behind it. The rear door opened. Dante Moretti stepped out. At 36, Dante possessed the kind of wealth that made prices meaningless. He didn't check bank balances. He didn't wait for paydays. He owned buildings he'd never entered, companies whose employees would never meet him, and homes in cities he visited perhaps once every 2 years. But money was the least interesting thing about Dante Moretti. In certain parts of Chicago, his surname could end an argument. Men who laughed in courtrooms stopped laughing when Dante walked into them. Politicians returned his calls. Business owners carefully reconsidered contracts after discovering a Moretti company was on the other side. And men who betrayed him rarely received the opportunity to make the same mistake twice. Dante had inherited an empire built through fear. Then he'd made it larger, cleaner, smarter, more dangerous. But power had come with a peculiar consequence. Dante was almost never alone, and yet he had spent years feeling exactly that way. There were always guards outside his door, men at his table, employees waiting for instructions, women eager for his attention. But very few people spoke to Dante Moretti without wanting something: money, protection, status. Fear had made him powerful. It had also made genuine human connection almost impossible. Dante entered the supermarket with 2 bodyguards several paces behind him. He wasn't there for groceries. One of the Moretti-owned restaurants nearby had experienced a supply issue, and Dante had just finished an unpleasant meeting with the distributor responsible. His driver had stopped because Dante wanted coffee before the next meeting. 5 minutes. That was all he intended to spend inside. Then he heard a woman say, "Could you check again?" Dante kept walking. The cashier answered, "I already did, ma'am. That's the maximum refund. $28.60? Yes." A pause. Then the woman's quiet voice came again. "Okay." Something about the way she said it made Dante look over. He saw Sophia. She stood at the return counter, holding a baby against one side of her chest. An unopened container of formula sat between her and the cashier. Dante slowed. One of his guards nearly walked into him. "Boss?" Dante raised one finger. Silence. He watched. Sophia looked down at the formula. "How much are the antibiotics again?" she asked. The cashier blinked. "I'm sorry?" Sophia seemed to realize she'd spoken aloud. Nothing. She reached into the shopping cart. A package of diapers came out next. "Can you return these too?" The cashier checked the receipt. Yes. Sophia placed them beside the formula. Then the wipes. Dante's brows drew together. The cashier gave her a sympathetic look. "You know, you don't have to return everything at once." Sophia smiled faintly. "It's fine." It wasn't fine. Dante could see that from 15 feet away. She began removing groceries. Bread, soup, a small carton of milk. A frozen meal. Dante watched the pile grow. His attention shifted to the baby. The little girl began fussing. Sophia immediately forgot about the cashier. "Oh, sweetheart." She rocked her gently. "I know." The crying grew louder. Sophia kissed her forehead. "Just give me one more night, sweetheart. Auntie Sophia will figure it out." Dante's gaze sharpened. Auntie, not mother. Something about that interested him, but it wasn't enough to make him interfere. Not yet. Dante Moretti had spent his entire life learning that stepping into another person's problems usually meant inheriting them. Then Sophia reached into her cart again. There was nothing left except a bottle of water. She looked at it for several seconds, then placed that on the counter too. Dante stared. She was returning everything. Not only what the baby needed, her own food, her own water, everything. And still, she was comforting the child. Something unfamiliar tightened inside his chest. He stepped forward, put everything back in her cart. The cashier froze. Sophia turned, and the moment from minutes earlier unfolded exactly as it had begun. Only now, Dante understood why he'd spoken. What he didn't understand was why he couldn't simply walk away afterward. Sophia's phone call ended. She stood there clutching Lily, humiliation burning across her face after begging whoever was on the other end for 2 more days. Dante had already given his order. "Find out who owns her building." His right-hand man, Luca, pulled out his phone. Sophia stared at Dante. "You can't do that." Dante's eyebrow lifted. "Do what?" "Whatever you're planning." You don't know what I'm planning. Exactly. That's the problem. Luca looked down, hiding the beginning of a smile. Dante noticed. He would deal with that later. Sophia stepped closer. She had to tilt her head to meet Dante's eyes. I don't know who you are, but I don't need someone interfering in my life because he saw me having one bad day. One bad day? Her expression hardened. Yes. Dante glanced at the mountain of returned necessities, then at the pharmacy bag, then at Lily. Sophia followed his gaze. Her embarrassment immediately turned defensive. She is taken care of. I didn't say otherwise. You were thinking it. No. Sophia hesitated. Dante's voice lowered. I was thinking you've been taking care of everyone except yourself. That silenced her. For the first time, some of the fight left Sophia's face. She looked away. Dante turned toward the cashier. How much? Sophia immediately protested. No. Dante ignored her. The cashier looked between them. For everything? Everything, she returned. And whatever else was originally in the cart. Dante. He looked at Sophia. She froze. She hadn't realized she'd heard Luca use his first name. Dante took out a black card. Sophia shook her head. I can't pay you back. I didn't ask you to. Then it's charity. No. What would you call it? Dante considered her for a moment. An inconvenience. Sophia stared at him. To who? Me. Because apparently I'm not leaving this store until you stop arguing. Luca coughed into his fist. Sophia's mouth twitched. For one fleeting second, Dante thought she might smile. She didn't, but it came close. The cashier began scanning. Dante's phone vibrated. Luca glanced at his own screen first. His expression changed. It was subtle. Most people wouldn't have noticed. Dante did. What? Luca stepped closer. Found the building. And? Luca lowered his voice. Landlord's name is Raymond Cole. Small-time property investor. Owns 6 buildings on the south side. Buy hers. Sophia's head snapped toward him. What did you just say? Dante didn't answer. Luca, however, wasn't finished. Boss. There's something else. Dante looked at him. Luca turned his phone so only Dante could see. Cole filed eviction paperwork against Miss Bennett yesterday. Dante's expression hardened. Sophia heard enough. Yes, because I'm behind on rent. It's not a conspiracy. Luca looked at Dante again. That's not the strange part. Sophia went still. Dante's eyes narrowed. What is? Luca tapped the screen. Her rent was already paid. Silence. Sophia stared at him. What? 3 months. Luca continued. Paid in advance. Sophia gave a nervous laugh. No, that's impossible. Luca didn't smile. Payment cleared 12 weeks ago. Sophia shifted Lily against her chest. You have the wrong apartment. Luca read from the screen. Apartment 3C. Sophia Bennett. The color disappeared from her face. Dante watched carefully. You didn't make the payment. No. Your sister. Sophia's eyes snapped toward him. Dante saw fear immediately. Not sadness. Fear. How do you know I have a sister? You called yourself auntie. Sophia relaxed only slightly. My sister is missing. Dante's expression changed. How long? 3 months. The timing registered instantly. 3 months of rent. Paid 12 weeks ago. Dante looked at Luca. Luca had reached the same conclusion. Someone had paid Sophia's rent around the same time her sister disappeared. And now the landlord was pretending that payment didn't exist. Who paid it? Dante asked. Luca scrolled, then stopped. For the first time since entering the supermarket, Dante saw genuine surprise on his right-hand man's face. That's interesting. What? The payment didn't come from a personal account. Sophia stepped closer despite herself. Then where did it come from? Luca looked directly at Dante. A shell company. Dante's face became unreadable. What company? Luca showed him the screen. Dante read the name once, then again. The warmth disappeared from his eyes. He knew that company. He knew exactly who controlled it. And that meant Sophia Bennett wasn't simply a broke woman he'd happened to notice in a supermarket. She had somehow wandered into a world she didn't even know existed. Dante slowly looked at Lily. The baby had stopped crying. She rested peacefully against Sophia's chest. One tiny fist curled into the torn fabric of her aunt's blue shirt. Dante stared at her for several seconds. Then he looked at Sophia. "Your sister," he said quietly. "What was her name?" Sophia hesitated. "Natalie Bennett." Dante felt something cold settle in his stomach. He knew that name too. And suddenly, the baby formula didn't matter anymore. By the time Sophia reached her building, the groceries Dante had paid for felt heavier than they should have. Not because of the bags, because of the man who had bought them. Dante Moretti. She had searched his name in the back of the cab and immediately wished she hadn't. Businessman, billionaire, philanthropist, and beneath all of that, whispers, connections, disappearances, organized crime. Sophia had closed the search page before she reached the second article. Now she stood outside her apartment building with Lily, asleep against her chest, and one thought repeating in her mind. Why would a man like Dante Moretti care whether she got evicted? She unlocked the front door. The hallway smelled faintly of old paint and radiator heat. Her apartment was on the third floor, small, clean, barely furnished. A second-hand sofa, a narrow dining table, a crib squeezed into the corner of her bedroom. No luxury, no secret stash of money. Nothing that explained why someone had apparently paid 3 months of her rent. Sophia had just finished putting Lily down when someone knocked. She froze. 3 slow knocks. Not her landlord. He hammered on doors. Sophia moved carefully toward the peephole. Her stomach dropped. Dante. 2 men stood behind him. She opened the door only a few inches. "You followed me?" Dante looked at her. "I came to see the building. You already bought my groceries. That was enough." "I bought more than your groceries." Sophia narrowed her eyes. "What does that mean?" Dante glanced down the hallway. "May I come in?" "No." A faint pause. Then Dante almost smiled. Sophia noticed it. "You find this funny?" "No. You look like you do. I'm not used to being left in hallways." "Get used to it." One of the men behind Dante coughed to hide a laugh. Dante ignored him. "Sophia, your landlord no longer owns this building." She stared at him. "What?" "I bought it." Silence. Sophia slowly opened the door wider. "You did what?" Dante's tone remained calm. "I bought the building. You can't just buy an apartment building because you overheard someone getting threatened." "I can." "That isn't the point. It solved the problem." "No, it created a much bigger one." Sophia stared at him, like he had completely lost his mind. Dante looked past her. His attention shifted. Something inside the apartment had caught his eye. A cream-colored envelope rested on the small table near the crib. Nothing about it seemed unusual, except for the symbol embossed into the corner. Dante's expression changed. The warmth disappeared instantly. He stepped forward. Sophia blocked him. "What?" Dante pointed. "Where did you get that envelope?" Sophia looked behind her. "That?" "Yes." "My sister left it." Dante went completely still. He knew the crest. Everyone in his world did. It belonged to the Belandi family, one of the oldest rival organizations in Chicago. Dante's gaze returned to Sophia. "Your sister's name?" Sophia hesitated. "Natalie." "Natalie Bennett?" Her eyes narrowed. "How do you know her last name?" Dante didn't answer. He entered the apartment. Sophia followed immediately. "I did not invite you in." Dante picked up the envelope. It was empty, but the seal was unmistakable. "Belandi." He turned toward her. "When did your sister give you this?" "The night she disappeared." Dante's eyes sharpened. Sophia folded her arms. "She asked me to keep Lily overnight. She left the envelope in the diaper bag. And you never opened it." It was empty. Dante looked toward the crib. Lily slept peacefully. Then he looked back at Sophia. "Where is the child's mother?" Sophia's expression tightened. "My sister." That wasn't what I asked. Sophia's eyes filled with something between anger and fear. She disappeared 3 months ago. Dante studied her. No calls? No. No messages? No. No contact at all. Sophia shook her head. Dante looked down at the Belandi crest again, then toward Lily. Something about the situation was wrong. Very wrong. And for the first time since he saw Sophia standing at that supermarket counter, Dante understood one thing clearly. Her poverty wasn't the real story. It was only the surface. Dante remained in Sophia's apartment long after she wanted him gone. The Belandi envelope had changed everything. He stood near the window while one of his men quietly searched Natalie Bennett's history from a laptop. Sophia sat beside Lily's crib, watching them. Finally, Dante's man looked up. Found her. Dante turned. Natalie Bennett worked as a junior accountant for Belandi Imports. Sophia frowned. No, Natalie worked for a shipping company. Dante looked at her. That's what Belandi Imports appears to be. Sophia understood immediately. Appears? Dante didn't answer. He didn't need to. Her face slowly changed. No, she worked there for almost 2 years, his man continued. Then 3 months ago she stopped showing up. The exact week she had left Lily with Sophia. Dante's jaw tightened. Check Sophia's accounts. Sophia stood. Absolutely not. Someone paid your rent without your knowledge. That doesn't give you permission to investigate my finances. No, but this does. Dante held up the Belandi envelope. Before Sophia could argue, his man spoke. Boss. Something in his tone silenced the room. He turned the laptop around. There have been repeated attempts to access Miss Bennett's bank account over the last 8 weeks. Small withdrawals at first, then larger ones. Sophia stared at the screen. Her savings, the money she had believed was disappearing beneath medical bills, rent and childcare. Not all of it had been spent. Some had been taken. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. And the eviction? Dante asked. Cole received payments from another source to pressure her out of the apartment. Sophia looked at Dante. Why? Dante's gaze shifted toward Lily. I think someone wants you desperate. A chill ran through her. Why would anyone care whether I have money? So you'll eventually have nothing left to protect her with. Sophia instinctively moved closer to the crib. No. Dante stepped toward her. Sophia. No. Lily has nothing to do with any of this. You don't know that. She's a baby. And somebody connected to the Belandis has spent 3 months making sure you lose your savings, your home, and every option you have. Sophia's eyes filled with fear. Dante lowered his voice. They're not trying to kill you. She stared at him. Then what are they trying to do? Corner you. Silence. Until a faint sound came from the hallway. Dante's head turned instantly. So did both of his men. A floorboard. Then another. Someone was outside. Dante moved before Sophia could react. He pulled her away from the door. Take Lily. What? Now. Sophia grabbed the baby. A second later, the lock snapped. The apartment door flew inward. 2 masked men rushed inside. They never made it 3 steps. Dante's guards intercepted them. The apartment erupted into chaos. Sophia backed into the bedroom, clutching Lily against her chest, as shouting and crashing furniture filled the tiny apartment. Then one of the intruders broke free. He wasn't running toward Dante. He wasn't running toward the window. He was coming directly toward Sophia and Lily. Dante saw it. His entire expression changed. He crossed the room and slammed the man into the wall before he could reach them. Who sent you? The masked man struggled. Dante ripped the mask away. Who sent you? The man said nothing. Dante's voice became terrifyingly calm. You broke into her home and reached for that child. Sophia had never seen a man's eyes turn so cold. Dante! He looked at her, and instantly, something softened. Sophia was trembling. So was Lily. Dante released the intruder to his men. Take them downstairs. The 2 attackers were dragged away. Dante turned back to Sophia. Pack a bag. She stared at him. What? You're leaving. This is my home. 2 men just broke into your home, specifically to take Lily. Where exactly do you expect me to go? With me? Sophia gave a disbelieving laugh. I barely know you. Dante stepped closer. Then learn quickly. Something about those words made her pause. Who are you, Dante? For several seconds he said nothing. Then one of the captured men shouted from the hallway. You're making a mistake, Moretti. Sophia froze. Moretti. She had heard that name before. Everyone in Chicago had. The rumors, the businesses, the men who disappeared after crossing the wrong family. She slowly looked at Dante. No. Dante held her gaze. Dante Moretti. The color drained from Sophia's face. The Dante Moretti? Yes. She instinctively tightened her arms around Lily. You're Mafia. Dante didn't deny it. Sophia stared at the dangerous stranger who had bought her groceries only hours earlier. Now armed men stood in her hallway, awaiting his orders. She should have been terrified of him. Part of her was. But when Lily began crying, Dante looked toward the baby, not with irritation, but concern. His voice softened. Whatever your sister became involved in, Sophia, it has reached you now. He glanced at the destroyed front door. And they'll come back. Sophia looked around her tiny apartment, the broken lock, the overturned furniture, the crib, then Lily. Her resistance finally cracked. How long would we have to stay with you? Dante met her eyes. Until no one in Chicago is stupid enough to come looking for you. Sophia had expected Dante Moretti's home to feel frightening. She hadn't expected it to feel empty. The Moretti mansion stood behind towering iron gates on a private estate outside the heart of Chicago. Armed guards patrolled the grounds. Cameras watched every entrance. Black SUVs lined the circular driveway. Inside, everything was enormous. Marble floors, high ceilings, crystal chandeliers, rooms large enough to swallow Sophia's entire apartment. Yet there were no family photographs, no children's toys, no laughter, nothing that suggested anyone actually lived there. Sophia stood in the entrance hall, with Lily sleeping against her chest. This is where you live? Dante removed his jacket. Yes. Alone. His eyes met hers. Usually. For some reason, that answer made the mansion seem even larger. Dante had an entire guest suite prepared for Sophia and Lily. Within an hour, diapers appeared. Baby clothes. Medicine. Bottles. A new crib. And enough formula to feed several babies. Sophia stared at the containers lined across the dresser. Dante. He looked up. There are 12 cans of formula here. I know. She's one baby. I know that too. Then why 12? Dante frowned as though the answer were obvious. So you don't run out. Sophia stared at him. Then, despite everything that had happened that night, she laughed. Dante went still. It was the first time he'd heard it. Not a nervous laugh, not an embarrassed one, a real laugh. And something about the sound stayed with him long after he left the room. At 2 in the morning, Sophia woke to an empty crib. Her heart stopped. Lily? She jumped from bed and rushed into the hallway. Then she heard crying downstairs. Sophia followed it into the enormous kitchen. And stopped. Dante Moretti stood beneath the soft kitchen lights, wearing black trousers and a white shirt, with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. Lily was cradled awkwardly against his chest. On the counter sat a bottle, formula, and 3 different measuring spoons. Dante was reading the instructions on the container with the concentration of a man defusing a bomb. Sophia leaned against the doorway. What are you doing? Dante turned. She was crying. So you kidnapped her. I picked her up. From my bedroom. The door was open. Sophia walked closer, fighting a smile. Dante looked down at Lily. She's hungry. Yes, I gathered that. Sophia glanced at the counter. You've been trying to make 1 bottle for how long? Dante checked his watch. 11 minutes. Sophia burst out laughing. Dante frowned. I run 17 companies. Congratulations. I can make a bottle. You've got 3 measuring spoons. The instructions weren't sufficiently clear. Sophia gently took the container from him. "Give me that." Their fingers touched. Both paused. For one unexpected second, neither moved. Sophia became acutely aware of how close Dante was. Without his jacket and the intimidating men surrounding him, he looked different. Still powerful, still dangerous, but human. And Dante was looking at her differently too. Her dark curls were loose around her shoulders. She wore the same worn blue t-shirt she'd arrived in, stretched softly over her full figure. She looked exhausted, but beautiful. Dante looked away first. Sophia prepared the bottle and handed it to him. "Here." Dante stared at it. "You want me to feed her? You started the mission." His eyebrow lifted, but he took the bottle. Sophia showed him how to hold Lily properly. Within moments, the crying stopped. Dante looked down. Lily's tiny hand curled around his finger while she drank. Something shifted in his expression. Sophia saw it. "You've never held a baby before." "No." "Never?" "No." She watched him carefully. "You're surprisingly good at it." Dante's mouth moved slightly. "Don't tell anyone." Sophia smiled. "Would ruin your reputation." Immediately. For the first time since meeting him, silence between them didn't feel uncomfortable. Sophia looked around the vast kitchen. "You really live here alone?" Dante's expression became distant. "I learned a long time ago that people around me become targets." "So you stopped letting people get close." It seemed efficient. Sophia looked at Lily resting safely in his arms. "Doesn't look very efficient tonight." Dante met her eyes. Neither smiled. Something had changed between them. The following days only deepened it. Sophia discovered that Dante took his coffee black and forgot to eat when he worked. Dante discovered Sophia hummed to Lily when she thought nobody was listening. Sophia discovered he secretly checked the mansion's security cameras himself every night. Dante discovered she refused to let the household staff clean up after her. And slowly, the mansion changed. Baby bottles appeared beside expensive crystal. A blanket remained permanently draped across a sofa that nobody had used in years. Lily's cries echoed through hallways accustomed only to silence, and Sophia's laughter began reaching rooms Dante had stopped entering. For the first time in years, Dante Moretti started coming home early. But while something warm was growing inside the mansion, something far more dangerous was taking shape outside it. On the fourth evening, Dante entered his study and found Luca waiting. There was a folder on the desk. "What did you find?" Luca's expression was grim. Natalie Bennett didn't just work for the Bellandis. He opened the folder. She copied their financial records before she disappeared. Dante's eyes narrowed. "How much?" "Enough to destroy them." Luca placed several photographs on the desk. Bank transfers, shell companies, bribed officials. Names. Dante studied them. "Where's the evidence?" "We don't know." Luca paused. "But the Bellandis think Natalie gave it to Sophia." Dante looked toward the hallway. Sophia's laughter drifted faintly from another room. His jaw tightened. "She doesn't know anything." "Maybe not." Luca placed one final photograph on the desk. It showed Natalie leaving a Bellandi property 3 months earlier. She was carrying Lily, and beside her stood a man Dante recognized immediately. Dante slowly picked up the photograph. His expression darkened. "That's impossible." Luca nodded. "That's what I thought." The man standing beside Natalie was Adrian Bellandi, the eldest son of Dante's most dangerous rival, and according to everything Dante knew, Adrian Bellandi had been murdered 3 months ago. The same week Natalie Bennett disappeared. Dante looked toward the door. Suddenly, one question mattered more than all the others. Who exactly was Lily Bennett? Dante found Sophia in the library with Lily, asleep across her chest. He placed the photograph on the table. "Sophia." Something in his voice made her look up immediately. "What happened? Do you know this man?" Sophia studied the photograph. Natalie stood outside a building with Lily in her arms. Beside her was Adrian Bellandi. Sophia's face changed. "Yes," Dante went still. You know him. My sister called him Adrian. You met him. Twice. Natalie said he was her boyfriend. Dante and Luca exchanged a look. Sophia noticed. What? Dante pulled out the chair opposite her. His name was Adrian Belandi. Sophia frowned. Belandi? He was the eldest son of Carlo Belandi. The name meant nothing to her. Dante continued. Carlo controls one of the largest criminal organizations in Chicago. Sophia tightened her arms around Lily. And Adrian was his heir. Sophia stared at him. Was? Dante hesitated. Adrian was murdered 3 months ago. The room seemed to tilt beneath her. 3 months. The same week Natalie disappeared. Sophia looked down at Lily. No. Dante leaned forward. Sophia, was Adrian Lily's father? I don't know. Think. Natalie never told me who Lily's father was. Her voice cracked. Lily stirred. Sophia immediately lowered her voice and rocked her. Dante watched the fear spreading across her face. Then his phone rang. Luca answered his instead. His expression hardened. Boss, Belandi. Dante took the phone. Moretti. An older man's voice came through. You have something that belongs to my family. Dante's eyes moved toward Lily. People aren't property, Carlo. Sophia went pale. The voice continued. The Bennett woman is irrelevant. Give me my granddaughter. Dante's expression turned cold. There it was. Confirmation. Lily wasn't merely connected to the Belandis. She was Adrian Belandi's daughter. And with Adrian dead, she was his only heir. You send men into Sophia Bennett's apartment, Dante said quietly. And now you call my home making demands? She has something else that belongs to me. What? Ask her sister. The call ended. Dante lowered the phone. Sophia stared at him. What does he want? Dante looked at Lily. Her. Sophia stood immediately. No. And something Natalie took before she disappeared. I don't have anything. I believe you. Then why are they coming after me? Because they don't. Sophia frowned. Dante's eyes hardened. They want you frightened enough to give them Lily. He explained what Luca had uncovered. Adrian had secretly married Natalie months before his death. The marriage had been deliberately concealed from Carlo Belandi, but it was legal. And Adrian had structured several legitimate family holdings so that, if anything happened to him, his wife and child inherited his controlling shares. Lily wasn't simply Carlo's granddaughter. She was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and control of companies the Belandis used to hide their criminal fortune. Sophia looked down at the sleeping baby in disbelief. She's 3 months old. To you. Dante's voice hardened. To Carlo Belandi. She's an inheritance. Sophia's eyes filled. And Natalie. Dante looked at the photograph. I think she discovered who killed Adrian. Silence. Then Sophia whispered, that's why she ran. Dante nodded, and before she disappeared, she copied Belandi financial records, evidence that could bury Carlo and half his organization. But she never gave me anything. Think about the night she left Lily. Sophia closed her eyes. She arrived terrified. She had the diaper bag, Lily's clothes, bottles. She stopped. Dante noticed. What? The formula. What about it? Sophia looked at him. Natalie brought several containers. She told me not to throw them away until they were completely empty. Dante's expression changed. Where are they? One is still at my apartment. Luca was already reaching for his phone. Dante stopped him. No one goes alone. Send a team. Less than an hour later, a black SUV entered the Moretti estate. One of Dante's men carried in a sealed evidence bag. Inside was an ordinary container of baby formula, the same brand Sophia had tried to return. Dante placed it on his desk. Sophia stood beside him. They removed the lid. Nothing. Formula. Sophia's shoulders dropped. I told you. Wait. Dante turned the container over. The bottom felt unusually thick. He took a knife and carefully worked around the plastic base. A hidden panel loosened. Sophia stopped breathing. Dante pulled it away. Something tiny fell onto his desk. A memory card. Nobody spoke. Sophia stared at it. Natalie hid that? Dante picked it up. Luca inserted it into an encrypted laptop. Files appeared. Hundreds of them. Bank records, photographs, audio recordings, payments to corrupt officials, and one video. Luca opened it. Natalie appeared on screen. Sophia covered her mouth. Her sister looked terrified, but alive, at least when the recording had been made. Natalie stared directly into the camera. "If you're watching this, Adrian is dead, and they're coming for Lily." Sophia began crying. Dante moved closer. Natalie's recording continued. "Carlo thinks Adrian betrayed the family because of me. He didn't. Adrian discovered what his father was doing. He was going to expose everything." Natalie looked over her shoulder before continuing. "Carlo had his own son killed." Dante's expression turned deadly. "And now he needs Lily. Without her, he can't legally regain control of Adrian's shares." Sophia clutched Dante's arm. Then Natalie said something that silenced everyone. "Sophia, if this reaches you, I'm sorry." Sophia stepped closer to the screen. "I'm alive." Her knees nearly gave out. Dante caught her. Natalie continued. "I had to disappear because Lily was safer if Carlo believed I was dead. But I left everything you need to destroy him." The recording ended. Sophia stood frozen against Dante. Her sister was alive. Somewhere. And for 3 months, she had been protecting a secret, capable of destroying the Belandi Empire, without even knowing it. Dante looked at the memory card, then at Lily, finally at Sophia. "This ends now." Sophia wiped her tears. "How?" Dante's gaze became frighteningly calm. "Carlo Belandi wants his evidence?" He closed his fist around the memory card. "I'm going to give him a reason to come collect it himself." By midnight, Dante Moretti had turned the Belandi's greatest secret into their downfall. Copies of Natalie's evidence had been sent to federal investigators, trusted journalists, and attorneys who had spent years trying to connect Carlo Belandi to his legitimate companies. Bank records, bribery payments, shell corporations, and the recording proving Carlo had ordered the murder of his own son. There was no longer anything Carlo could destroy by coming after Sophia, but Dante wanted something else. Natalie. The information hidden on the memory card contained an encrypted contact trail. Luca followed it. By sunrise, they had an answer. "She's alive," Luca told Dante. Sophia shot to her feet. "Where?" "Wisconsin. Small town outside Madison. She's been living under another name." Sophia covered her mouth. For 3 months, she had imagined every possible ending. None of them had included seeing her sister again. Dante arranged everything. No police escort, no public reunion, just Moretti security and a private vehicle. When Natalie finally stepped through the doors of Dante's mansion that evening, Sophia stopped breathing. Her sister looked thinner. Exhausted, terrified, but alive. "Soph?" Sophia ran. The sisters collided in the middle of the entrance hall. Sophia sobbed against Natalie's shoulder. "You left me. I know. You let me think you were dead. I'm sorry." Then Natalie saw Lily. Her face crumpled. Sophia placed the baby into her mother's arms. Natalie held her daughter for the first time in 3 months and wept. Dante watched from across the room. He should have felt satisfied. The threat was ending. Carlo Belandi's organization was collapsing. His accounts were frozen. Several of his closest men had turned against him once the evidence became public, and law enforcement had enough information to ensure whatever remained of his empire would be torn apart piece by piece. Sophia was safe. Lily was safe. Natalie was home. Dante had accomplished exactly what he intended. So why did victory feel so much like loss? 3 days later, Sophia packed her suitcase. She folded the worn blue t-shirt and placed it inside. The same shirt she'd worn the afternoon she met Dante. Her life had changed completely since then. Natalie had access to Adrian's legitimate estate now. Sophia wouldn't have to worry about rent, or groceries, or whether Lily would have enough formula. For the first time in months, nobody needed Dante Moretti to rescue them. Sophia should have been happy. Instead, every piece of clothing she packed made her chest ache. A knock came at the door. Dante stood there. His eyes moved toward the suitcase. "You're leaving?" It wasn't a question. Sophia nodded. "Natalie found a place for us, while everything gets sorted out." Dante entered. "You could stay here." Sophia smiled sadly. "We've invaded your life long enough." "You didn't invade anything, Dante. You think I want this house empty again?" Sophia stopped. Dante reached into his jacket. He placed a folded piece of paper on the dresser. Sophia recognized it immediately. The supermarket receipt. "You kept that?" "Yes." "Why?" Dante looked at it for a moment. "Because that afternoon, I walked into a supermarket expecting to spend 5 minutes buying coffee." His gaze returned to hers. "Then I saw a woman returning her own food because a baby needed medicine." Sophia swallowed. "I thought you were stubborn." "I am stubborn. I know." A faint smile touched his mouth. Then it disappeared. "For years, Sophia, I convinced myself that being alone was the price of keeping everyone safe." He stepped closer. "I had money, houses, men who would die for me, an empire people feared." His voice softened. "And none of it made that house feel like a home." Sophia's eyes filled. Dante glanced toward the hallway. There were baby toys on the floor, a bottle on an antique table, evidence of the chaos that had invaded his perfectly controlled existence. "I started coming home early because you were here." Sophia stared at him. "I started looking forward to hearing Lily cry." She laughed through her tears. "That might be the strangest declaration of love I've ever heard." Dante went still. "Love?" Sophia realized what she'd said, but Dante stepped closer. "Yes." His hand gently settled against her cheek. "That's exactly what it is." Sophia's breath caught. "I love you." The words sounded almost foreign coming from Dante Moretti. But there was no hesitation behind them. "I don't want your gratitude. I don't want you here because I protected you." His thumb brushed beneath her eye. "I want you here because somewhere between watching you argue with me over groceries and finding you laughing at me while I tried to make a bottle, I stopped wanting to be alone." Sophia smiled. "You were terrible at making that bottle." "I've improved." "Barely." Dante laughed. Sophia had rarely heard that sound. She reached up and touched his face, then kissed him, softly at first. Dante's arms wrapped around her full waist, drawing her closer. And for once, the man who controlled half of Chicago allowed himself to hold something without thinking about how he might lose it. The suitcase remained open, but Sophia never finished packing. Months later, Dante walked into the same supermarket. This time, nobody was crying at customer service. Sophia walked beside him, while Lily sat happily in the shopping cart. Natalie had rebuilt her life and remained close to her daughter, while Sophia had become something Lily would always have too, her second mother. They reached the baby aisle. Sophia grabbed one container of formula. Dante took it from her, then placed another into the cart, and another. By the 6th container, Sophia grabbed his wrist. "Dante!" He looked at her. "She doesn't need 6. We're not running out again. We have 4 at home. 6 more is safer." Sophia stared at him. The feared Dante Moretti stared back with complete seriousness. Then Sophia started laughing. Lily joined her with a delighted squeal. Dante shook his head, but a smile betrayed him. Once, silence had followed Dante Moretti everywhere he went. Now there was laughter, a baby reaching for him from a shopping cart, and a beautiful plus-size woman walking beside him, teasing him about buying too much formula. Dante had entered that supermarket months earlier, believing he already possessed everything a man could need. He had been wrong. His next move hadn't simply changed Sophia's life. It had changed his, and for the first time in years, Dante Moretti was no longer lonely. If Dante and Sophia's story kept you watching until the very end, show some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to Mafia Meets Curves for more powerful mafia romance stories filled with danger, passion, and unexpected love. And before you go, drop your country or city in the comments. I'd love to see where everyone is watching from.